welcome everyone to another year of Poetry Out Loud. Poetry Out Loud Finals 2019. It's the 6th year.
If you'd like to be featured, tweet using the hashtag PRHSPOL2019. And I think we're going to get started.
All right.
And first one up is Natalie Morty. Domestic Situation by Ernst Hilbert. Maybe you've heard about this. Maybe not. A man came home and chucked his girlfriend's cat in the wood chipper. This really happened. Dinner wasn't ready on time. A lot of other little things went wrong. He spat on her father, who came out when he learned about it. He also broke her pinky, stole her checks, and got her sister pregnant. But she stood by him, stood strong through it all because she loved him. She loved him. You see, she actually said that. And then she went and married him. She felt some unique call. Don't try to understand what another person means by love. Don't even bother. Thank you.
I'm not sure if we have a musician. Yeah, sure. Why don't we just wait because more people are going to file. We'll do it in the next. Okay. Yeah, you can come out. All right. I don't know if this one's on. Ben, tell Tyler to cue the mic, please. Is it on? I don't think my mic's. Is it on? Yeah, it's on. There we go. All right, guys. We're gonna. This one's the only one that's on right now. All right, everybody file in. As we said before, if you're reciting a poem, give a copy of your poem to the judges down here, and then come and sit up front. Right now, we're gonna have Caitlin Gagnon perform for us.
Okay, so I'm going to be singing Once Upon a December so that people have time to prepare. Dancing bears, painted wings, things I almost remember, and a song someone sings once upon a December. Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses prance through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully across my memory. Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses prance through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully across my memory.
Thank you, Caitlin. Up next is Eric Normandy.
Poem. I lived in the first century of World Wars by Muriel Bukiser. I lived in the first century of World Wars. Most mornings I'd be more or less insane. Newspapers would arrive with their careless stories. The news would pour out of various devices, interrupted by attempts to sell products to the unseen. I called my friends on other devices. They'd be more or less mad for similar reasons. Slowly, I would get to pen and paper, making mad poems for others unseen and unborn. In the days, I would be reminded of those men and women, brave, setting up signals across vast distances, considering a nameless way of living, of almost unimagined values. As the light darkened, and as the light brightened, we would try to imagine them, try to find each other, to construct peace, to make love, to reconcile, waking with sleeping, ourselves with each other, ourselves with ourselves. We would try by any means to reach the limits of ourselves, to reach beyond ourselves, to let go of the means to wake. I lived in the first century of those wars. Thank you.
All right, just a reminder, if you want to tweet at PRHSPOL 2019, we can read your tweets. I'll read a few right now. Emma Lapata. Luke, isn't that Pete's sweater? Yes, it is. I've also got, can't read that last name. It says Go Caden. And then Brian Inger tweeted out, look at this photograph I took of Ben Bulio, which is great.
And while we wait for the next poet, we're going to have a musical performance.
Up next, we have, is this on? Yeah, there it is. Up next, we have Jess Cooney.
Not Waving, but Drowning by Stevie Smith. Nobody heard him, the dead man, but still he lay moaning. I was much further out than you thought, and not waving, but drowning. Poor chap, he always loved larking, and now he's dead. It must have been too cold for him. His heart gave way, they said. Oh, no, 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 it was too cold always. Still the dead one lay moaning. I was much too far out on my life, and not waving, but drowning.
And now, help me to introduce Leah and Veronica.
If I could begin to be half of what you think of me, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love. When I see the way you act, wondering when I'm coming back, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love like you. Love like you. I always thought I might be bad. Now I'm sure that it's true. 'Cause I think you're so good, and I'm nothing like you. Look at you go, I just adore you. I wish that I knew what makes you think I'm so special. If I could begin to do something that does right by you, I would do about anything. I could even learn how to love. When I see the way you look, shaken by how long it took, I could do about anything. I would even learn how to love like you. Love like you. Love me like you.
Thank you, Leah and Veronica. Next up, we have Haley Brown.
Here, by Joshua Megan. Nothing has changed. They have a welcome sign, a hill with cows and a white house on top, a mall and grocery store where people shop, a diner where some people go to dine. It is the same, no matter where you go. And downtown you will find no big surprises. Each fall the dew point falls until it rises. White snow, green buds, green lawn, red leaves, white snow. This is all right. This is their hope. And yet, what you see is never what you get. It does feel somehow changed from what it was. Is it the people, houses, fields, the weather? Is it the streets? Is it these things together? Nothing here ever changes, till it does.
All right, we're gonna have more musicians come up in a second. I'm gonna read a few tweets right now. The first one is from Jeff Jenkins, official. I am having such an awesome time at PRHS POL 2019. These poems are truly touching my heart. God bless the souls performing. Thank you, Jeff. I also have Kyle Stock. This is the most awesome experience ever. Remember this, it doesn't matter who wins the competition, it only matters which competitors have the most fun. Good luck to all poets. Thank you, Kyle. We're waiting for people to come in. Yeah. All right, guys. Our next poet is going to be Emma Fandel. We'll give her a minute so that everybody can file in and find their seats. All right. Welcome up.
More Lies by Corinne Gottschall. Sometimes I say I'm going to meet my sister at the cafe, even though I have no sister. Just because it's such a beautiful thing to say. I've always thought so. Ever since I read a novel in which two sisters were constantly meeting in cafes. Today, for example, I walked alone, on the wet sidewalk, wearing my rain boots, expecting someone might ask where I was headed. I bought a steno pad and a watch battery. The store windows fogged up. Rain in April is a kind of promise, and it costs nothing. I carried a bag of books to the cafe and ordered tea. I like a place that's lit by lamps. I like a place where you can hear people talk about small things, like the difference between azure and cerulean, or the price of tulips. It's going down. I watched someone who could be my sister walk in, shaking the rain from her hair. I thought, even now, florists are filling their coolers with tulips, $5 a bundle. All over the city, there are sisters. Any one of them could be mine.
Okay.
Next poet.
Okay.
Okay.
And next up, we have Caden Curry.
Turning Tables by Joelle Diaz Porter. First, hold the needle like a lover's hand. Lower it slowly. Let it tongue the record's ear. Then cultivate the sweet beats blooming in the valley of the groove. Laugh at folks that make requests. What chef would let the diners determine which entrees make up the menu? Young boys think it's about flashy flicks of the wrist, but it's about filling the floor with the manic language of dance. About knowing the beat of every record like a mama knows her child's cries. Nobody cares how fast you can scratch, because it ain't about soothing any itch. It's about how many hairstyles are still standing at the end of the night.
All right. All right, we're gonna wait on some music just so we can get a few more poets up here. I'm gonna read one tweet. Ben Bulio says, Luke Cole is a wonderful and kind-hearted person. Thank you for being you. Thank you, Ben. And next up is Madison Travello.
Mama Said by Calvin Forbes. The slice I ate, I want it back. Those crumbs I swept up, I'd like my share again. I can still taste it like it was. The memory by itself is delicious. Each bite was a small miracle, both nourishing and sweet. I wish I had saved just a little bit. I know it's not a literal cake. It's the thought that counts. Like a gift that's not store-bought, making it even more special. Like a dream that makes you want to go back to sleep. You can't have your cake and eat it too, Mama said. I was defiant and hard-headed and answered, yes, I can too. The look she gave me said, boy, I hope you aren't a fool all your life.
Before we have the next resuscitation, I'm just going to read another tweet from @KateLaPata. This is better than Mr. Casey's English class. Oh. Now please join me in welcoming Molly Forget.
Oh, good? Okay. A thank you note by Michael Ryan. My daughter made drawings with the pens you sent. Line drawings that suggest the things they represent, different from any drawing she, at 10, had done. Closer to real art, implying what the mind fills in. For her mother, she drew a flower, fragile on its stem. For me, a lion, calm, contained, but not a handsome one. She drew a lion for me once before, on a get well card and wrote, I must be brave, even when it's hard. Such love is healing, as you know, my friend, especially when it comes unbidden from our children, despite the flaws they see so vividly in us. Who can love you as your child does? Your son, so ill, the brutal chemo and his looming loss owning you now, yet you would be this generous to think of my child. With the pens you sent, she has made, I hope, a healing instrument. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So, just want to remind you guys, try and stay quiet during the poems.
Noah Horgan.
Next up is Noah Horgan.
Across the Bay by Donald Davy. A queer thing about those waters. There are no birds there, or hardly any. I did not miss them. I do not remember missing them, or thinking it uncanny. The beach, so called, was a blinding splinter of limestone, a quarry outraged by hulls. We took pleasure in that. The emptiness, the hardness of the light, the silence, and the water's stillness. But this was the setting for one of our murderous scenes. This hurt and goes on hurting. The venomous soft jelly, the undersides. We could stand the world, but we're hard all over.
Okay, we have another tweet from Not Owen Campbell. Poetry out loud is the best thing to ever happen to humanity. We have peaked. The pinnacle of humanity is this very moment. Thanks to Benvolio, the best moment in human history is occurring now. This will go on in history as a revolutionary moment. Thank you. And next up, we are going to have Mariano Fontana.
Onions by William Matthews. How easily happiness begins by dicing onions. A lump of sweet butter slithers and swirls across the floor of the sauté pan, especially if its errant path crosses a tiny slick of olive oil, then a tumble of onions. This could mean soup or risotto or chutney, from the Sanskrit chutney, to lick. Slowly the onions go limp and then nacreous, and then what cookbooks call clear, though if they were eyes, you could see clearly the cataracts in them. It's true, it can make you weep to peel them, to unfurl and to tease from the taut ball first the brittle, caramel-colored and decrepit, papery outside layer, the least recent the reticent onion wrapped around its growing body. For there's nothing to an onion but skin. And it's true, you can go on weeping as you go on in, through the moist middle skins, the sweetest and thickest. And you can go on into the core, to the bud-like, acrid, fibrous skins densely clustered there, stocky and incomplete. And these are the most pungent, like the nuggets of nightmare and rage and murmury animal comfort that infant humans secrete. This is the best domestic perfume. You sit down to eat with a rumor of onions still on your twice-washed hands and lift to your mouth a hint of a story about loam and usual endurance. It's there when you clean up and rinse the wine glasses and make a joke, and you leave the minutest whiff of it on the light switch later when you climb the stairs.
Weather ain't the way it was before. Ain't no spring or fall at all anymore.
It's either blazing hot or freezing cold. Anyway, the wind blows. When your body aches to lay it down. When you're hungry and there ain't enough to go round. You either hurry up and hit the road. Anyway, the wind blows. Wind comes up, ooh, do you hear that sound? Wind comes up, ooh, but there's no one around.
Thank you, Caitlin. All right, up next is Jet Heerslag. Before we invite him up, I'd like to read off Emma Lapata's tweet. Mr. Casey says that Kate now has a detention. Jet?
Limitations by Henrietta Cordelia Ray. The subtlest strain a great musician weaves cannot attain in rhythmic harmony to music in his soul. May it not be celestial lyres send hints to him? He grieves that half the sweetness of the song he leaves unheard in the transition. Thus do we yearn to translate the wondrous majesty of some rare mood when the rapt soul receives a vision exquisite. Yet, who can match the sunset's iridescent hues? Who sing the skylark's ecstasy so seraphine? We struggle vainly, still we fain would catch such rifts amid life's shadows, for they bring glimpses, ineffable, of things divine. Thank you.
Now, please join me in inviting Sage Seymour up to the stage.
What Horror to Awake at Night by Lori Nidecker. What horror to awake at night, and in the dimness see the light. Time is white, mosquitoes bite. I've spent my life on nothing. The thought that stings, how are you, nothing? Sitting around with something's wife. Buzz and burn is all I learn. I've spent my life on nothing. I'm pillowed and padded, pale and puffing, lifting household stuffing, carpets, dishes, benches, fishes. I've spent my life in nothing.
Little Girl by Tammy Holland. She's with Grandma in front of Grandma's house, backed by a willow tree, gladiola and roses. Who did she ever want to please? But Grandma seems half pleased and annoyed. No doubt Mother frowns behind the lens, wants to straighten this sassy face. Maybe laughs, too. Little girl with her mouth wide, tongue out, yelling at the camera. See her little white purse, full of treasure. Her white sandals. She has things to do, you can tell. Places to explore beyond the frame. And these women, picking flowers and taking pictures, why won't they let her go?
Okay, we have one more tweet, and this is from Zach Haynes saying, I'm liking what I'm hearing today. Last Poetry Out Loud of the decade, and everyone is definitely making it one of the greatest. And now, up next, we have Megan Redding.
Cartoon Physics, Part 1, by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10 shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexorably pushing into the vacuum, galaxies swallowed by galaxies, whole solar systems collapsing, all of it acted out in silence. At 10, we were still learning the rules of cartoon animation, that if a man draws a door on a rock, only he can pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. 10-year-olds should stick with burning houses, car wrecks, ships going down, earthbound, tangible disasters, arenas where they can be heroes. You can run back into a burning house. Sinking ships have lifeboats. The trucks will come with their ladders. If you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and drives across the city of sand. She knows the exact spot it will skid, at which point the bridge will give, who will swim to safety, and who will be pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, he will not fall until he notices his mistake.
So that people can file in and out. Thank you, guys. Jojo McDonald tweeted, "Man, this poetry is getting egg." Up next, we have Megan O'Keefe.
And Soul by Evan Boland. My mother died one summer, the wettest in the records of the state. Crops rotted in the west, checked tablecloths dissolved in back gardens, empty deck chairs collected rain as I took my way to her. Through traffic, through lilacs dripping blackly, behind houses and on curbsides, to pay her the last tribute of a daughter. I thought of something. I remembered. I heard once that the body is, or is said to be, almost all water. And as I drove southward, that ours is a city of it, one in which every single day the elements begin a journey towards each other that will never, given our weather, fail. The ocean visible in the edges cut by it, cloud color reaching into air, the Liffey storing one and summoning the other, salt greeting the lack of it at the north wall end. As if that wasn't enough, all of it ending up almost every evening inside our speech. Coast, canal, ocean, river, stream, and now mother. And I drove on. And although the mind is unreliable in grief, at the next cloudburst, it almost seemed they could be shades of each other. The way the body is of every one of them. And now they were on the move again. Fog into mist, mist into sea spray, and both into the oily glaze that lay on the railings of the house she was dying in as I went inside.
File in, we just want to give a quick shout out to our amazing judges and tech crew and Miss Cromwell for putting this whole event together. Now, please help me in joining and welcoming Ethan Pascoe.
Thank you, Jojo. Everybody give Jojo a big hand, please. All right, this one's called Mingus at the Showplace. It's by William Matthews. I was miserable, of course, for I was 17. So I swung into action and I wrote a poem. And it was miserable, for that's how I thought poetry worked. You digested experiences and shat literature. It was 1960 at the Showplace, long since defunct on West 4th Street. I sat at the bar casting beer money from a thin reel of ones. The kid in the city, ears big like a puppy. And I knew Mingus was a genius. I knew two other things, but they were wrong as it happened. So I made him take a look at the poem. There's a lot of that going around, he said. And sweet baby Jesus, he was right. He laughed amiably. He didn't seem as if he thought of bad poems as dangerous the way some poets do. If they were baseball executives, they'd plot to destroy sandlots everywhere so that the game could be saved from children. Of course, later that night, he fired his pianist in mid-number, fired him from the stage. We've suffered diminuendo in personnel, he explained, and the band played on.
Life and death and love and birth and peace and war on the planet Earth. Is there anything that's worth more than peace and love on the planet Earth? Come on and sing it with me. The and death and love and birth and
life and death and love and birth by using me, fa, me, ti, la.
and peace and war on the planet Earth.
All right. All right. I'd like everyone to help me welcome up Mr. Scroll Nolan O'Neill.
Football by Lewis Jenkins. I take the snap from the center. Fake to the right. Fade back. I've got protection. I've got a receiver open downfield. What the hell is this? This isn't a football. It's a shoe. A man's brown leather Oxford. A cousin to the football. Maybe the same skin, but not the same. A thing made for the earth, not the air. I realize that this is a world where one has to make do with what one has. I've eaten pancakes, for instance, with that clear corn syrup because there was no maple syrup, and they weren't very good. Well, anyway, this is different. My man downfield, waving his arms. One has certain responsibilities. One has to make choices. This isn't right, and I'm not going to throw it. Thank you.
And Mike Murphy tweeted, "Shout out to Matt Curtis, Poetry Out Loud's unsung hero." And up next, we have Maddie Trainer.
This is The Key to the Dollar Store by Hal Young.
Just tell me, who the hell am I? What powers do I hold? What right have I to say my, or mine, or me? Honey glazed, bulletproofed, and worshipful of any gangster I. The key to the dollar store hangs on my belt. Yes, my again. And what of roof, of bread, of loving laughter? What's in? My vinyl favorite, Booker Little, vintage, soothes me. He jars our ears with trumpet joy and stuff freed folk stash in cabinets. Never one to make too much of why we love and what. I love my powers. I might put you in my will.
That was Matt Trainer. Luke Redgate, yeah.
Help me welcome up to the stage Luke Redgate.
Hey guys, this is called Back Up Quick They're Hippies by Lanny O'Hanlon. That was the year we drove into the commune in Cornwall. Jesus, Jim, Ma'am said, back up quick. They're hippies. Through the car window, tents, row after row. Flaps open. Long-haired men and women curled around each other like babies. And the babies themselves wandered naked across the grass. I reached for the handle, ready almost to open the door, drop out, and away from my sister's aggressive thighs. Daddy's slapping hands. Back home in the Dandelion Market, I unlearned the steps that my mother taught. I bought a headband, an Afghan coat, a fringed skirt, leather skin, and barefoot on calming grass, I lay down with Ken. Thank you.
Good job, Luke. That was amazing. Okay. And Rocco tweeted, bet Triton doesn't do this. And up next, we have Emma Newman.
Self-Help by Michael Ryan. What kind of delusion are you under? The life he hid just knocked you flat. You see the lightning, but not the thunder. What God hath joined, let no man put asunder. Did God know you'd marry a rat? What kind of delusion are you under? His online persona simply stunned her, as it did when you began to chat. You see the lightning, but not the thunder. To the victors, go the plunder. You should crown them with a baseball bat. What kind of delusion are you under? The kind that causes blunder after blunder? Is there any other kind than that? You see the lightning, but not the thunder. And for 1 second, the world's a wonder. Just keep it thrilling under your hat. What kind of delusion are you under? You see the lightning, but not the thunder. Thank you.
Heart, don't fail me now. Courage, don't desert me. Don't turn back now that we're here. People always say life is full of choices. No one ever mentions fear or how the world can seem so vast on this journey to the past.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin. I'd like to give a special welcome to Tony Sophia.
This is Happiness by Jane Kenyon. There's just no accounting for happiness, or the way it turns up like a prodigal, who comes back to the dust at your feet, having squandered a fortune far away. And how can you not forgive? You make a feast in honor of what was lost and take from its place the finest garment, which you saved for an occasion you could not imagine. And you weep night and day to know that you were not abandoned, that happiness saved its most extreme form for you alone. No. Happiness is the uncle you never knew about, who flies a single-engine plane onto the grassy landing strip, hitchhikes into town, and inquires at every door until he finds you asleep mid-afternoon, as you so often are during the unmerciful hours of your despair. It comes to the monk in his cell. It comes to the woman sweeping the street with a birch broom, to the child whose mother has passed out from drink. It comes to the lover, to the dog chewing a sock, to the pusher, to the basket maker, and to the clerk stacking cans of carrots in the night. It even comes to the boulder and the perpetual shade of pine barrens, to rain falling on the open sea, to the wine glass, weary of holding wine.
So we're gonna do the last.
Okay, and last but certainly not least. Okay, can everyone just stay for 1 minute for the last performance? Would that be okay? Sorry. Okay, please join me in welcoming Grace Clevacy.
The Last Performance by Thomas Hardy. I'm playing my oldest tunes, declared she. All the old tunes I know, those I learned ever so long ago. Why she should think just then she played them. Silence cloaks like snow. When I returned from the town at nightfall, notes continued to pour as when I'd left 2 hours before. It's the very last time, she said in closing. From now, I play no more. A few morns onward found her fading, and as her life outflew, I thought of her playing her tunes right through. I felt she had known of what was coming, and wondered how she knew.
All right, guys, thanks for coming out. Shout out Peter Lapata and Jordan Kane. I'm excited to see you guys next year. Jojo, my tweet.